When I agreed to do the service today, the Sunday service committee sent me a bunch of dates, and they were like, pick which ones work for you. I said, April 5th seems great. I had no idea it was Easter. So if you're here this morning expecting to hear about Jesus and bunnies, I'm very sorry. The title of today's sermon came from the excerpt that Rachel just read from Sharon McMahon's book, The Small and the Mighty. I was really struck with that passage when reading the book. The idea that there are stories, histories, always present but not seen, is a powerful one. We have just finished with Women's History Month, and before that, Black History Month, and as Rachel highlighted, the Transgender Day of Visibility. These are times when unseen histories are brought forward and celebrated. But those stories don't appear from nothingness. They have, in fact, always been there. Currently, in a political climate that is attacking transgender people, I have seen transness talked about as a new thing, some kind of fad that is creeping into our society. In response, I have seen the statement, "We have always been here." And it makes me think of McMahon's metaphor of Aurora, that it was still there even when it was unseen. McMahon goes further and says, those histories, those stories, are not seen because something bigger and brighter has blocked them out. In the case of the aurora, the sun has no malicious intent to hide the beautiful magnetic fields. But with human history, unfortunately, this is not the case. Dominant narratives exist to keep the powerful in power. The victors are the ones who write history. By eclipsing the stories of anyone outside the mainstream, harm is done. The statement, "We have always been here," isn't just for the trans community. It is true of feminists, of immigrants, of disabled people, and so on and so on. Myths of purity erode the abundance of beauty and possibility. In her book, McMahon tells the story of 12 people, all who had an impact on the development and growth of the United States of America. There are men, women, people of color, lesbians, moms, underdogs, regular Joes. Her book challenges the narratives that white men built this country. One story stuck out to me because it was about something so familiar, but with a history I had never heard. It is the story of Catherine Lee Bates. Katie, as Catherine was called, was born in 1859 in Falmouth, Massachusetts, where Katie's father died shortly after she was born. She was born at a time when access to education was very limited for women, but being raised by her mother and an aunt who were both educated at Mount Holyoke Seminary, education was something Katie dedicated her life to. Katie went on to attend Wellesley College, where she would later become a professor. She was an author, a poet, and involved in movements of social change. At Wellesley, she met the woman, Catherine Coleman, who would be her partner in life and in love. The two women loved to travel, and in 1893, they had a chance to attend the World's Fair in Chicago. From there, they continued west to Colorado, where Katie spent the summer teaching in Colorado Springs. Katie later recalled about her trip. One day, some of the other teachers and I decided to go on a trip to the 14,000-foot Pikes Peak. We hired a prairie wagon. Near the top, we had to leave the wagon and go the rest of the way on mules. I was very tired. But when I saw the view, I felt great joy. All the wonder of America seemed displayed there, with a sea-like expanse. It was after this trip, up Pikes Peak, that Katie dashed off a poem that started, "O beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain." It was not only the physical beauty of America that inspired Katie, but also her desire for an all-inclusive, egalitarian American community. Her poem first appeared in an 1895 edition of a church periodical, The Congregationalist, for which she received $5. The first version includes these lines: "America, America, God shed his grace on thee, till selfish gain no longer stain the banner of the free." This $5 would be about all the money she made from this poem, even as it gained popularity and was set to music. Throughout her life, she stated that this was her gift to the country and gave permission to anyone who asked to use it without charge. Now, I don't know about you, but I grew up singing America the Beautiful in school, along with the national anthem and God Bless America. At no point did anyone ever tell me its lyrics were written by a lesbian feminist social justice warrior. I wonder what it would have meant to me as a young person figuring out my own sexuality to know that the words of a gay woman from the turn of the century became so important to the fabric of our country. There are many ramifications from silencing our country's diverse history. A friend of mine recently came back from a trip to Germany. He shared with me that the country does not hide its history of wrongdoing. It's part of the story of who they were and lives on to teach future generations of the awful things that can happen when tyrants gain power. This felt like such a stark contrast to the erasure of U.S. history, with bans on teaching critical race theory and the history of slavery. Erasing our history, banning our history from being taught, creates a false idea of purity. We are good. We have always been good. We will not be tainted by stories of violence and oppression. This does not only silence historical truth, but it reinforces ideas that strip away our humanity. No human is all good. No human is pure. Our history is one of humans, and humans are complex and messy. Humans are capable of standing up for what they believe in and making change. We are capable of both destruction and repair. Ideas of purity set us up for shame. It is shameful to have done anything wrong. This is incredibly toxic ideology. Shame keeps us silent. It keeps us isolated. It keeps us scared, and it keeps us from making change, learning to repair, and accepting ourselves for who we are and who we can be. Another story in McMahon's book that stuck out to me is that of Virginia Randolph. Virginia was born in 1870 in Virginia. She was the daughter of two formerly enslaved people. Virginia completed her education at the age of 16 and took her first teaching job in Goochland County. In 1892, she began teaching at the Mountain Road School in Henrico County. There, she developed her unique approach to education by creating a successful formula based on practicality, creativity, and involvement from parents and the community. A firm believer in learning through doing, Randolph combined academic instruction with lessons on cooking, weaving, and gardening. Because of her innovative teaching style, in October of 1908, she became the first Jeans Supervisor of Industrial Teaching, a position she held for more than 40 years. The Jeans Foundation, also known as the Negro Rural School Fund, or Jeans Fund, helps support education and vocational programs for African Americans in rural communities from 1908 till the 1960s. Her work took her throughout the South and earned her a national and international reputation as a leader in education. Many of her achievements came without financial support. While she was teaching and supervising other educators, she also took in washing as a way to supplement her meager income. Over the years, she spent her own money buying land and building schools and churches. Virginia lived by the Jeans teacher's informal motto, "Do the next needed thing." I don't know about you, but I can get overwhelmed by the amount of injustices in our world. I feel like turning on the news in the morning gives me more and more to be concerned about. And when I think about what it takes to help, my brain jumps to the idea that real change is only made by full-time activists, people with megaphones, or those who can drop everything and march in the streets. But the truth is, movements don't win because everyone's doing the same thing. They win because everyone does something. No matter your skill or energy level or capacity, there's a role for you. The phrase, "it takes a village," isn't just a cliche. We need people who write poems, and we need people who build schools. In her blog post about finding your role in activism, Dr. Essence Deming-Rivers outlines 4 types of roles for people engaging in activist work. 1, the backbone. These are listeners, encouragers, and caretakers. 2, troublemakers and mobilizers. These are the organizers, the agitators, the fundraisers. 3, architects of change. This includes strategists and problem solvers. And 4, the knowledge base. This is where we find educators, messengers, and creatives. It's not just about doing the next needed thing. There are so many needed things. It's about doing the next needed thing that we can. And now a shift from the past to the future. While I did not remember that today was Easter when signing up to do this service, I did remember that today is an important date for the fans of Star Trek. Today is known as First Contact Day. In Star Trek canon, on April 5th, 2063, in Bozeman, Montana, humans make first contact with beings from another planet. This happens because a scientist invents warp drive, which allows humans to travel faster than the speed of light, and therefore be able to engage interstellar exploration. In the Star Trek timeline, a few decades leading up to this event includes the United States' Second Civil War and then World War III, which ends in nuclear holocaust. First contact is what sets in motion Earth's repair and recovery. It is also what sets the stage for the formation of the United Federation of Planets and an Earth that exists in peace. Okay, so what does Star Trek have to do with the rest of my sermon? Remembering and uncovering histories overshadowed and erased help us to see possibilities for the future. When we see people making change, it can give us inspiration and courage to follow in their wake. It has been done before, it can be done again. And things are possible, even if they've never been done before. A quote from a Star Trek episode about first contact, Lieutenant Commander Una Chin Riley says, "No matter how many stars there are in the sky, no matter how many galaxies swirl beyond our own, our first visit from the stars is always the provenance of children's stories and science fiction. First contact with aliens lives squarely in the impossible. First contact is just a dream, until one day it isn't." Who knows when we will make contact with alien life? Maybe we already have. What feels important to me about this quote is the idea that something can live squarely in the impossible. It can just be the dream, until one day it isn't. Both our diverse histories and our imaginations for the future give us so many possible ways for the world to be different. I encourage you to think about how you fit into these possibilities. What do you understand as the next needed thing that you can do?